Here's what I'm going to say. The average person has such a messed up mindset. They're surrounded by negativity. They're infected with the disease of the mind. Okay. And if you understand this, you will take nothing personally, because the average person walking around in your environment is so conditioned and so programmed by negativity. They're programmed to hate themselves. They're programmed to hate everybody around them. They're programmed with negativity, doubt, skepticism, cynicism. Like, the average person is infected with this disease. Look, the reason most people are poor is because they're so infected by those diseases of the mind. They're sick beings. Modern society has made it so that most people are just walking around infected, sick with this disease. So, like, if you're a positive person, if you're a happy person, if you're having a good time, and you're being positive about it, and you talk to one of these people, right? They're going to infect you with their disease. So this is like, imagine you've done all this work, you've like reprogrammed your mind because you're under such heavy oppression and suppression by the system and by systems and by like all this negativity, that when you break out of a negative environment, when you break out of like being around the wrong people, what happens is you start to connect with higher level people. You start to understand, some people have really great lives. They really experience life in a very healthy and positive way. And if you're not around people like that, then it is extremely detrimental to you. So there's the old saying about crabs in a bucket, right? Fishermen, they would catch crabs, they would throw them in a bucket. And once the crabs were in the bucket, anytime a crab tries to crawl out of the bucket, the crabs at the bottom of the barrel will pull them down back into the bucket. And that's the mentality that I'm talking about here, that it's a detriment to your future. It's a detriment to your experience of life. It's a detriment to what is real in your world. And so the average person just simply can't handle that reality. They simply can't handle a reality where everything works out for their good, where everything is positive, where the people around them are up to good things, cool things, they're supportive, they're positive, right? The average person wants to tear down. They want to destroy, and it's part of a survival instinct. Look at nature, in the animal kingdom, in the plant kingdom, whatever. These organisms are always trying to survive. And a lot of times it's survival against odds, right? So that creates a little bit of a resistance or a need to fight for survival. But we've evolved past that as humans. Now, it still exists to a degree. Like, you still have to fight, because the contrary to that is there's a bit of warfare in business, in life, right? You have to fight for what you want in a sense, but not to other people's detriment. Most of the time, people who are fighting other people, they're just stuck in like a daze, or they're stuck in this programming, and they like to attack and tear down and hate and spew negativity. And if you experience people like this, these are the most dangerous people to be around, because they will wear down your programming. They will wear down your positive programming. And the average person living in modern society is subjected to so much programming, so much messaging, they're not able to think for themselves. And so what my goal is, if you listen to the things that I'm saying, what I'm telling you is that you can break out of that programming. And once you start to recognize how the programming affects you, you can program yourself positively towards achieving your own goals. And then you start to recognize that all these other people who are trapped in this programming are literally a detriment to themselves, they're a detriment to society, and they're a detriment to you. And so it's really important to understand when somebody is coming at you with some sort of negativity, with cynicism, with doubt, with hate, whatever it is, that this is just a sick person. It's not personal. There's a book called The Four Agreements, as written by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's a really good book. The first agreement is don't take anything personally. So don't take anything personally. And then there's be impeccable with your word. And then I'd have to look up the other two agreements. But the whole point I'm making here is that the first agreement is don't take anything personally. And this is why, because the average person has no idea what's going on. They don't even know what's going on with themselves, let alone how they're affecting other people around them. So make sure, if you're exhibiting these traits, these characteristics, we all have them. Nobody's perfect. I've spent a lot of my life being stuck in the programming, in negativity, And this is how I've gotten out of it, because I realized that it's not right, something is wrong. And then you look at your environment, you look at people, you look at your beliefs, you look at the things that are pushed on you to believe, and you can start to break out of that, because it is truly detrimental to your life, to your future, to the people around you, to be enveloped in negativity, to be surrounded by negativity or hatred or denial, doubt, all these types of like extreme behaviors and thoughts and beliefs that are harmful. And when you stop harming yourself and you stop harming other people with your bad programming, your karma improves. You're going to improve your karma, right? And so what that means essentially is that you stop creating bad situations in your life and you start creating good situations. And then what happens is all the other people who are programmed start to see your evolution, your progress, and they start to get upset or jealous, or they're like the crabs in the bucket. They try and bring you back down, right? So you have to have this awareness, and this is why it's important to be part of mastermind groups, get around the right people, stay plugged in to the right mindset, because the world at large is set up to try and tear you down. And so this is part of survival and evolution as an entrepreneur, as somebody living in modern society that's just simply trying to exist and enjoy life, right? There's literally wars going on around us, but there's people who focus on it and pay attention to it and rave about it and rage about it, or you can just understand that it's there and it doesn't have to affect you, because there's so many things that we don't know. There's so many aspects of life that we don't truly know the answer to. If you look at quantum physics, like that could be happening in a whole different reality, right? And it's a question of, do you want to make that your reality? Do you want to absorb and solidify and acknowledge consensus reality and make it real? Or do you want to create your own reality? And do you want to be somebody who has the ability to survive no matter what the circumstances are, not just survive, but thrive and elevate? And so for me, this is a pressing topic, because the average person out there has no clue. There's no leadership. There's very little leadership. Our role models are fucking horrible. They have no idea what's going on. There's very few real role models in the world. So, when you start to evolve, step up, and become a leader in your business, your organization, and life in general, you'll start to see that it actually becomes very easy, because all you have to do is recognize when things are coming at you, when you're thinking bad thoughts, anything that's detrimental to your goals, to your progress, it starts to become very loud. And this is the enemy, this is the collective enemy, this is what the Bible referred to as, Satan, as the devil, right? This is what is evil. It's evil for humanity to be stuck in a lower state of consciousness. It's evil for a person to be stuck in this lower state of consciousness, not experiencing God, not experiencing greatness in life. And so if you're watching this, you obviously already have an elevated sense of consciousness. You understand what I'm saying. And if you don't, it's essentially this, right? Like, you're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. So I want you to make a conscious decision now that you'll be part of the solution.